As Vermont continues to make headway towards a goal of obtaining 90% of its energy needs from renewable sources, solar power is likely to remain an important part of the mix to get there. A solar project underway in Londonderry has an added wrinkle. About half the solar panels are owned by individuals and small businesses, which will get energy credits on their bills, developer Bruce Generow of Green Mountain Community Solar said recently. Generow took over the project after the initial developer ran into difficulties and couldn't finish it. About $500,000 later, his 600-panel project is generating electricity, and trees to screen the view of the panels are being planted.
We specialize in making available solar to folks who can't put solar panels on their roof or put it in their backyard. And so this project came with a permit, and we were able to acquire that permit from the Brattleboro Company, and we started to work with them also to install it. And as you can see in the background here, we put in approximately 600 solar panels, and of those 600, about 300 of them are owned by Vermont families or small businesses. And those families at their homes or their second homes can't put the solar panels on their roof. And so those particular families own the panels, and they receive the value of the electricity generated by those panels. And as you can see on a day like today, they're working really well. In Vermont, it's very difficult to get a permit for a solar farm. And the fact that this project was permitted was something that appealed to me, because otherwise it's difficult to get one.
The Londonderry project comes in two phases. Phase 1 is a 150 kilowatt project that was permitted in September of 2015 and constructed in the fall of 2016. The second phase had its initial application submitted last December as an amendment to the first phase. It was deemed complete and received written comments only from the ANR, Agency of Natural Resources, and the Department of Public Service. If approved, the second phase of the project would boost its output to 500 kilowatts. But finding suitable spots for solar arrays can sometimes prove tricky. That's why under legislation passed last year known as Act 174, when municipalities and regions meet certain standards, they will receive substantial deference, quote unquote, from state officials when it comes to identifying areas that are suitable for solar or renewable energy sites. Obtaining permits for such projects will still be up to the state's Public Utility Commission, formerly known as the Public Service Board, but under the new law, localities armed with the approved plans and maps will have more leverage than before. That may help address local concerns about a project like the one in Londonderry. The project obtained its state permit, known as a Certificate of Public Good, without having to obtain any local permits, and some neighbors were caught off guard when the project began construction earlier this year. They registered their concerns with town officials, but by then it was too late. Since the project was permitted before Act 174 was passed, the original applicant wasn't required to get any local permits. Kim Ray and Jennifer Greisel are two of the immediate neighbors to the solar project, and they still have concerns about it.
Well, my first concerns were the runoff from all the trees being cut down and the fact that they illegally went ahead and cut down trees on my property without my knowledge or my father's knowledge. My father, Paul Greisel, owns the property. And nobody was asked whether it was okay, they just did. And then when we finally approached them on it, it was, oh, we'll clean up and there won't be a problem with runoff. Now, if you walk behind my house, you'll find where I had water going into my bedroom and my son's bedroom, so we had to rent a skid steer to dig out the back of the house, and now we're having even more of a problem with the hill eroding away. And nobody wants to claim responsibilities for it. Tree planting does nothing for me. I mean, I don't really see the solar project from my house. However, it has hugely impacted me because of the erosion factor.
I think from the very beginning, we were not notified, and I know that we're not an abutting landowner, but we are truly impacted by this. We visually can see it from our yard, from our garden, from inside our house. And Bruce Generow did plant trees just last week. I think the initial impact is very devastating and is shocking. That was a total woodland area, and it's also a commercial solar field, and so I don't know how that was approved in such a congested residential area. My big concern is sightings of industrial solar fields like this being put in bad locations, and also because of the aesthetics for Vermont. I think it's going to have a huge impact.
One of the things that we try and anticipate as a company is making sure that any concerns of the neighbors are addressed. And so part of the permitting process is all the neighbors are notified, and those would be the actual abutters. And unfortunately, there's some people in the old process, pre-Act 174, who don't necessarily get noticed. And those are some of the folks that rightfully had concern about some of the visual aspects of it. And to the extent that we can, and as you can hear in the background with the work by this local contractor, we're putting in screening right now to address those concerns, and we want the project to have minimal visibility from their homes and from Thompsonburg Road and from Vermont Route 11.
Looking ahead, Will Reed of the Londonderry Energy Committee hopes Act 174 will help fend off misunderstandings and siting controversies in the future.
The important thing for the town moving forward is for us to have more local control and to try to follow a more positive and deliberative process in approving developments that are larger in scale. I think we certainly stand behind renewable energy, and we think it's an important part of moving forward with energy independence. But on the other hand, following the history and the culture of Londonderry, it's important to make sure that we do it in a way that preserves our natural landscape and the beauty of the town and the state as a whole.
Bhima Nita of North Bennington-based Power Guru, a company which develops and installs solar systems, pointed out that large-scale solar projects are essential if the overall renewable energy goals of the state are to be met.
The 90% goal of the goal of 90% renewables by 2050 translates to roughly about 80 megawatts of renewables in Bennington County alone. Now you cannot really get there with roof mount solar. If you look at the vast majority of homes, there are analyses which show that even if about 70% of roofs are eligible to install solar on, less than half of those are those on which you can actually make any economic sense to do solar on them. So if you do the numbers, that's about maybe 10-20 megawatts of solar, no more than that. So you have to get, if you are serious about meeting this goal, you do have to get the rest of them through ground mount larger solar farms. There's no other way around it.
For the GNet TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.